With this album being called what it is, it makes me really think of the old PlayStation 1 era of video games. So I want to ask you, what is your favorite video game of all time? Personally, I think the best video game of all time is the original Final Fantasy VII. Best game ever. Let me know down in the comments what you think. And yeah, what's up, everyone? It's your boy Matt Diazable coming at you with a new music review. Thanks for coming on by. I appreciate it. You the best. Oh yeah. Today, I'm checking out the latest release from a band called BacktoEarth with their album called Continue Without Saving. And this band, BacktoEarth, is I guess they could describe themselves as a new genre, but they mix Screamo, Metalcore, new metal, hardcore a bit, all into one genre, and they've kind of come up with this new genre called newcore. Yeah. I think they are from Atlanta, Georgia. I couldn't really find out where they're from, but I'm pretty sure they're from the States. They started back in 2019. This is their second full-length release. They released something back about 2 years ago or so, but I just discovered them because it was recommended to me on Spotify, and I was like, they're a young band. Maybe I can find something new in this band that hasn't really got too much going on for them in terms of like, radio play or like getting out there exposure wise. So why not check out something new and refreshing? So let's talk about this album. The first thing I noticed about this album, this band clearly wants to really channel that early to like mid 2000s post-hardcore energy here. It's like the kind of music that you would spend hours looking up on MySpace for new bands and everything that have like really like good screams, some melody, and some emotion all colliding together. But just like those MySpace bands of like back in the day, sometimes the execution doesn't always land. The intent is here, the emotion kind of comes in at like certain moments. There's flashes of emotion throughout this album, but there's so many small missteps that really like kind of bring the album down and kind of make it hard for it to find its footing. The opening track, Welcome to the Real World, sets the tone with some really interesting stop and go guitar playing and some really high pitched nasally vocals that kind of like oddly work in the mix overall. There's a lot of energy here that you cannot really deny or anything, and a lot of it kind of reminds me of like From First to Last and early Silverstein. It's got this like blend of emo drama and like screamo bite to it. The bass is hitting hard enough on this track, and the drums, they have just the right amount of punch to give that feel of like a love letter to that era of MySpace music. But even this early on the record, you can definitely get the sense of something holding the album back. And that is, there's like all these moments that almost come together, but then they just kind of fall flat or they just don't lock it in. Throughout the record, they are playing with tone and atmosphere in a very interesting way. Celestial Lullaby and DDoS, show that the band is willing to, or at least not willing to, but are capable of building mood. They have some airy guitars, some very heavy reverb vocals, and some spacey transitions. But the emotional through line doesn't really always match the music that's being made. And I would say a good example of that is the vocals. They seem either, too bright or too clean for the sad music that's being made underneath everything. So you get this bit of a disconnect. And so it kind of dulls the impact of the overall song that they're bringing. You can definitely tell what the band wants to do. It's just that they just don't hit the mark half of the time or more than half of the time. When they lean into like heavier style playing, like on the songs Reboot and Insert Disc 2, the band really seems to hit that post-hardcore aggression with, a little bit more confidence. The riffs are getting chunkier, the screams feel a little bit more fleshed out and lived in, and just the overall aggression that they're putting out just has, more conviction to it. But the breakdowns at times can feel a little bit uneven, and the transitions between, clean vocals and scream vocals, they don't always, blend that well. Some of the songs on here carry the right tone, but, they just don't execute it very well. Like there's always something good and then something not that great about the songs or the overall presentation of the music on here. It's always a give and take. Like sometimes the riffs can feel a little bit too rigid, the drumming can feel a bit stiff, and the production choices at times can flatten moments where, the band should really explode. However, there are some glimpses of, like interesting and more special moments, like on the song Insert Disc 2. The middle section of this song introduces a very dreamy synth break that just shifts the entire song into this almost surreal place. It's a creative move that feels very alive and shows that the band have a lot of potential to them when they just really trust their instincts and let them just like take over. And then on the song Damn FR, they add some female vocals that just really flesh the song out and give it a lot of warmth and color to it when, you know, the song could be a little bit too cold with how just empty it is. So it's a really good contrast. And that mix of the, you know, the female vocals and the colder sound feel really right before the band kind of loses the thread again. And so by the time you get to the song Dreamcatcher, I feel like the band is, you know, finally at their most in sync, locked in. They just sound like their best on this last song. The bass feels really weighted. The riffs are just flowing better here. And finally, the screamed and clean vocals just really finally blend together and something just finally clicks. The synth textures add a lot of depth to the song. And finally, I feel like the band has finally captured that post-hardcore sound that they were looking for with their own style without copying other bands. It's easily their strongest track on this record, and one that shows that, you know, the band does have potential if they can just really sharpen and just more, like, I guess, just define their sound a little bit more. So to put it simply, Continue Without Saving is full of promise, but just so many little missteps and stumbles really kind of tank the album a bit. You know, it's a lot of small mistakes that, you know, they don't really mean much, but over time, it does build up and you can kind of see the cracks throughout the whole album. Whether it's a vocal tone that doesn't really fit the mood, or a breakdown that doesn't really land, or, you know, a bit of a dreamy section that gets cut off before it can really get really interesting. And I would say none of these things really ruin the album, but they keep it like held back from being something really great. And just at the end of the day, it just kind of feels okay. And so I feel like this album is, you know, the band just reaching out for something and just being barely out of its grasp. It's nostalgic, it's ambitious, but they're still learning to translate what they love into something that is, you know, truly their own. To put it simply, it's an album full of heart and, you know, flashes of ambitious and creative like choices that could mean something in the future, but just too many small missteps and stumbles really hold the album back a bit. It feels like a post-hardcore revival, but it's just, you know, missing that magic just a little bit. So it's almost there, but not just quite yet. So this latest album from Back to Earth, sorry, Continue Without Saving, I would have to give it an okay to decent 6.5 out of 10. Links down below. Tell me what you think about this band. And until next time, guys, see you in the pit.